I can still picture that day like it happened this morning. It was a chilly fall evening, and the sun was hanging low, painting everything in soft orange light. You could smell dead leaves mixed with smoke from fireplaces. Winter was coming soon. I had just finished making myself some tea when my phone lit up. It was Lisa, my best friend from way back in college. "Hey, can you help me out with something big?" I couldn't help but grin. That's just how Lisa was, straight to the point, no games. Me? Depends. What kind of help are we talking about? Her reply came back almost instantly. It's about Jake. He's stuck in a bad spot, and I'm gone for the weekend. I don't know who else to call. Jake, her kid. I'd known him since he was born. Actually, calling him a kid wasn't right anymore. He'd just turned 19. Last time I saw him was at his birthday dinner a couple months ago. He'd grown into this tall guy with broad shoulders, and his face had lost that baby look. More defined now, more grown up. He had Lisa's dark brown eyes and this easy smile that could win anyone over. "What's going on?" I typed back. Lisa took a second to answer. "Car trouble. Nothing major, but he's stranded and doesn't know what to do. Can you check on him?" I sighed and grabbed my coat. I'd been looking forward to a quiet night with my book, but after everything Lisa and I had been through together, saying no wasn't an option. "Sure. Where is he?" She sent me a pin. It wasn't far, just outside town, on a quiet road that ran near some old abandoned train tracks. I grabbed my keys and headed out. When I got there, Jake was leaning against his car with his arms folded, looking frustrated but relieved to see me. His silver car was sitting crooked on the side of the road with one completely flat tire. His hair was messy, catching the last bits of sunlight. When he saw me, he straightened up. Thank God. I thought I'd be stuck here all night. I got out and took a quick look at his tire. Lisa said you had car trouble, but she didn't mention a flat. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah. I guess I took a turn too fast and hit a curb pretty hard. He let out a tired breath. I was going to call a tow truck, but Mom said you could help. I crossed my arms. Don't you have a spare? He looked embarrassed. I do. I've never actually changed a tire before. I laughed a little. Well, that's something every guy needs to know. Come on, I'll show you. We got to work. I walked him through everything, loosening the nuts, jacking up the car, taking off the flat. He paid close attention, his forehead wrinkled in concentration. At one point, he looked up at me and smiled. You're really good at this. You must do this a lot. I've had my share of car problems over the years, I said. You learn stuff when you're on your own. His face softened. Yeah. I guess I've always had my mom to help me out. There was something in his voice, something deeper than just casual talk. I glanced at him. You okay? He hesitated, then he spoke. I don't know. Lately, I just feel really stuck. Like I should have everything figured out by now, but I don't even know where to start. Everyone keeps saying I'm an adult now, but I don't feel like one. I lined up the spare tire and handed him the wrench. Tighten these. Trust me, at 19, nobody has it figured out. You're just taking it one step at a time. He looked at me, his expression hard to read. What about you? When did you figure everything out? I laughed softly, still working. That made him smile. He finished tightening the tire, and I checked his work and nodded. Good job. You're all set to get back on the road. As he put the tools away, he glanced at me again. Would it be okay if I hung out at your place for a bit? I don't really want to go home yet. There was something fragile in his voice, a quiet vulnerability underneath. I paused for just a second, then nodded. Sure. Let's go. That's how it started. One simple favor turned into something unexpected, something that would change everything I knew. We got to my place just as the sky was turning deep purple. The air had gotten colder, and a light breeze was rustling through the trees lining my quiet street. I pulled into my usual spot, and Jake followed, turning off his engine with a tired sigh. He sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, before finally getting out. You good? I asked, locking my car. Yeah, he said quickly, but his voice didn't sound sure. Just thinking, I didn't push. I knew that feeling. When you've got thoughts weighing you down and you're not ready to share them yet. Instead, I let him inside, flipping on lights as we walked into my warm house. The smell of cinnamon hung in the air from a candle I'd lit earlier, and the only sound was the quiet hum of the fridge. "Make yourself at home," I said, taking off my coat. "You hungry?" Jake paused, then nodded a little. "Yeah, kind of." I walked to the kitchen and opened the fridge. "I've got some leftover pasta, or I can make something simple. Pasta sounds good." While I heated up the food, I looked over at him. He'd sat down on one of the stools at the counter, his shoulders slightly hunched, fingers tracing the edge of the wood. Something was definitely on his mind. I decided to ease into it. "So tell me, what's going on? Why didn't you want to go home?" He took a slow breath, rubbing his face. "It's just, things feel different at home now. Mom's always busy. I get it, she works hard. But ever since I graduated high school, it's like I don't fit anywhere. I tried college and hated it. I've tried working, but nothing feels right." I nodded, setting the hot pasta in front of him. "That's normal. Jake, society makes it seem like you should have everything figured out by 18. But that's not how it works." He picked up his fork, twirling the pasta slowly. "I know, but it feels like I'm just wasting time. All my friends are moving forward, and I'm standing still." I sat down across from him, watching as he took a bite. "You're not standing still. You're just in transition, and that's okay." His eyes met mine, searching. "When did you figure out what you wanted?" I smiled a little. "You're assuming I ever did." I leaned back, shaking my head. "Life isn't a straight line. I've tried different things, failed at stuff, started over more times than I can count. I'm 52 and I'm still learning how life works." Something in my words seemed to reach him. He put down his fork and leaned forward a bit. "It's weird talking to you like this. I've known you my whole life, but I'm realizing I never really knew you." I tilted my head. "What do you mean?" He paused, then said, "I always just thought of you as Mom's best friend. But tonight, I don't know. You don't talk down to me. You actually listen. That's different." There was real honesty in his voice, and it caught me off guard. I held his gaze for a moment, then gave him a soft smile. "Well, Jake, you're not a kid anymore. What you have to say matters." He looked at me like he wanted to say more, but he just nodded and went back to eating. After we finished, we moved to the living room. I sat on one end of the couch and he took the other, stretching out his long legs. We talked about lighter stuff, movies, music, memories from the past. It felt easy, natural. At some point, I looked at the clock and was surprised by how late it had gotten. "You should probably head out," I said, even though part of me didn't want the night to end. Jake sighed, rubbing his hands together slowly. "Yeah, I guess." But he didn't move. I watched him for a second, then said quietly, "You can stay if you want." On the couch, obviously. His lips curved into a small smile. "Yeah?" I got up to grab him a blanket, and when I came back, he was still watching me, his expression unreadable. I handed him the blanket, and for a second our fingers touched. "Thanks," he said, his voice soft now. "Get some sleep," I said, forcing a smile. "Tomorrow's a new day." As I walked to my room, there was this uneasy feeling in my chest that I couldn't shake. Something had shifted tonight, something I hadn't expected. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept tossing and turning, replaying the conversation with Jake over and over in my head. His words, his face, the way he looked at me, not just as his mom's best friend, but as someone who actually got him. I told myself I was just overthinking it, that he was just lost and looking for guidance. And I happened to be there at the right time. But no matter how hard I tried to convince myself, I couldn't ignore how my heart reacted to him. When sunlight started coming through my curtains, I realized I'd barely slept a few hours. I got up, wrapped myself in my robe, and walked quietly toward the kitchen. The house was silent except for the soft hum of the fridge. I was surprised Jake wasn't still asleep. When I turned the corner, I found him sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. "Morning," he said, his voice still thick with sleep. I blinked in surprise. "You drink coffee?" He smirked. "I do now." Hope you don't mind. I helped myself. I laughed softly, shaking my head. Not at all. I poured myself a cup and took a slow sip. The warmth woke me up a little. Did you sleep okay? Jake shrugged. Better than I thought. Your couch is pretty comfortable. I leaned against the counter, watching him. He looked different this morning, more relaxed, but still thoughtful. You heading home soon? I asked carefully. He paused, running his hand through his messy hair. I don't know. I'm not really in a hurry to. I raised an eyebrow. Jake. I know, he said quickly. Last night was the first time in a while I felt like I could actually talk to someone. Really talk. I don't want to go back to pretending everything's fine. His words hit me in a way I didn't expect. I understood that feeling so well. The fear of going back to a life that feels empty. I sat down across from him, holding my mug. What do you want to do? He exhaled, looking out the window. I don't know, but I feel like I need to figure it out somewhere other than home. A thought crossed my mind before I could stop it. You could stay here for a little while. If you need time to think, to figure things out. He looked at me. You'd be okay with that? I paused for a moment. Would I be? Having him here, in my space, in my life. It was like opening a door to something I wasn't sure I was ready for. But I couldn't deny the pull I felt. Yeah, I said finally. I would. A slow smile spread across his face. Thank you, he said, and I could hear the relief in his voice. In that moment, everything changed. The days that followed fell into an easy rhythm. Jake settled into my home like he'd always been there. We'd have coffee in the mornings, sometimes in comfortable silence, other times in deep conversation. He helped around the house, fixing things I'd given up on, like loose cabinet handles, unclogging the stubborn bathroom drain, even reorganizing a shelf in my pantry when he noticed I couldn't reach the top. At night, we'd sit on the couch and watch old movies, and in those moments, I learned things about him I'd never known. He hated horror movies but loved psychological thrillers. He tapped his fingers on his knee when he was thinking. He carried more weight than he let on. It was strange, this unexpected closeness, but it felt right. But there was something underneath it all, something neither of us was saying. A tension hummed between us in the quick glances we'd exchange, in the way our conversations would sometimes trail off into soft silence under the warm glow of the living room lamp. And then one night, everything came to a head. We were cleaning up after dinner, standing side by side at the sink. I washed, he dried. It was routine by now, but tonight felt different. The air between us was thick, charged with something unspoken. Jake reached for the plate I was holding, and for a moment our fingers brushed. I froze, my breath catching. I should have pulled away, laughed it off like it was nothing, but I didn't. When I looked up, he was already watching me. Jake, I started, my voice barely above a whisper. I know, he said quietly, his fingers still touching mine. This is complicated. Complicated didn't even begin to cover it. He was 19. I was 52. He was my best friend's son, and yet none of that changed the fact that something real had happened between us. Something undeniable. I took a breath. This isn't right? He finished softly. It doesn't feel wrong to me. I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. Every logical part of me was screaming that this was impossible, that I should stop it before it went any further. But my heart, that stubborn, traitorous thing, was saying something completely different. When I opened my eyes, he was still there, waiting patiently. I don't know what to do, I admitted. Jake exhaled, his hand tightening just slightly around mine. Let's just take it slow. Let's just be honest about what this is. I searched his face for any doubt, any hesitation, but all I saw was certainty, after what felt like forever. I finally let myself stop overthinking, stop questioning. I let myself feel, and in that moment, I knew this was something neither of us could walk away from. It surprised me. It went against everything I thought I knew, but it was ours. Please rewrite the following. Transcript in a way that is clear, engaging, and easy to understand for an audience. USA-based age 18 to 60. The written text should retain all the key points, but use completely unique wording compared to the original. The language must be simple, catchy and natural, avoiding our complex words, metaphors, or smiles ensure that the final result is effectively communicating the original message in sound, 100% human-generated, with no induction of being written by a bot, and conceive the script and also placed a number of digits at their original place. Also correct the spelling of word and characters' names. The length of the story remains same. The